Consciousness succumbs all too easily to unconscious influences, and these are often truer and wiser than our conscious thinking. Also, it frequently happens that unconscious motives overrule our conscious decisions, especially in matters of vital importance. Carl Jung. Many of us find ourselves inexplicably derailing our own plans. To our frustration and bewilderment, we make irrational choices, hit mental roadblocks, and even suffer physical symptoms that derail our intentions. It's as if some unseen force seizes control, diverting us from our determined paths. Those plagued by relentless self-sabotage seem perpetually stuck, unable to reach their desired destinations. But why do we sabotage ourselves? What drives us to dismantle our own plans without any apparent reason? Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist, unearthed insightful answers to these perplexing questions. He identified a part of the psyche he termed the shadow. This shadow acts as a psychological vault within the unconscious mind. In this hidden realm, where our conscious awareness cannot penetrate, we stash away our undesirable traits. Imagine the shadow as a dark, secluded corner of our psyche. Here, the light of our conscious awareness doesn't shine, and we hide the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable. Whether due to societal norms, parental disapproval, or past experiences of suffering, we repress these unwanted aspects. Jung revealed that simply burying these traits does not solve the problem. Instead, it often exacerbates it. These buried elements take on a life of their own, operating unseen, and this is where self-sabotage begins. The repressed parts of our personality rebel against our conscious minds, creating internal conflict without us even realizing who or what we are battling. Jung's solution was not to repress, but to integrate these shadowy aspects into our conscious personality. By bringing the unconscious into the light and discovering what lies beneath, we can address the root of our self-sabotaging behaviors and move towards a more harmonious existence. There are many reasons we might hide certain aspects of ourselves. Perhaps our parents disapproved, these traits didn't align with societal expectations, or our experiences taught us that expressing them would lead to suffering. Consequently, we banish these unwanted parts deep within our psyche, pretending they don't exist. However, they remain a part of us. Jung argued that repressing these aspects doesn't resolve the issue. In fact, it often makes things worse. These suppressed traits can become powerful and uncontrollable, lurking in the shadows and leading to self-sabotage. They rebel against our conscious intentions from the depths of the shadow, causing us to be in conflict with ourselves without even realizing it. Fortunately, there are ways to halt this self-sabotage. Rather than continuing to repress these hidden parts, Jung advised that we should integrate them into our conscious personality. This process involves bringing the unconscious to light and uncovering what lies beneath the surface. By doing so, we can address and incorporate these repressed traits, leading to a more unified and harmonious self. In this video, we will delve into the psychology of self-sabotage and explore methods to overcome it, drawing on the insights of Carl Jung. I invite you to watch this video until the end. If you find this content useful to you, please click the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts below in the comments section. There is a widespread misconception about the shadow that causes much confusion regarding its role and how to integrate the repressed aspects it contains. Many believe the shadow is simply the dark and negative side of our personality, housing all our undesirable impulses. This leads to the shadow being symbolically depicted as a menacing figure, an ominous other self lurking outside our awareness. However, the shadow is fundamentally different. It is more akin to a dark place than a dark figure. Imagine the shadow as a dark closet within the human psyche, where the light of consciousness doesn't reach. This closet is where we store all the repressed parts of our personality that we are either unwilling or unable to face at the moment. These traits end up hidden away due to various reasons, such as trauma or unmet needs. When we discuss shadow work and integrating the shadow, we're not actually integrating the shadow itself. Instead, we are integrating the contents of the shadow. These contents refer to all the repressed parts of our personality that reside in this dark place. Just as objects placed in a dark closet become enveloped in shadow, the same objects, when brought into the sunlight, are no longer shrouded in darkness. This analogy applies to the parts of the personality within the shadow. There is nothing inherently shadowy or negative about these traits. They have simply been relegated to a shadowy place and operate outside our conscious awareness, often causing problems due to this disconnect. By bringing these repressed aspects into the light of consciousness, we can address and integrate them, reducing the conflict they cause. This process helps us achieve a more harmonious and balanced self, free from the self-sabotaging behaviors that stem from these hidden parts. It's important to understand that when parts of the personality become repressed, we aren't just talking about isolated traits being pushed into the shadow. For example, saying, "I repressed my greed," or "I repressed my joy," oversimplifies the process, as greed and joy are free-floating qualities. To repress a quality like greed or joy, you must repress an entire personality fragment associated with those traits. These fragments, often called shadow aspects, are like mini-personalities. Each of these mini-personalities is entirely a part of you, as they are fragments of your overall personality. When these mini-personalities are separated from your conscious awareness and placed into the dark closet of the shadow, they become distinct and operate independently from your conscious personality. Your conscious personality, or ego, is the part of yourself that exists in the light of consciousness and is what you refer to as me or I. These shadow aspects, residing in the shadow, have their own perspectives, needs, and agendas, which can conflict with those of your conscious personality. Just as our conscious personality, or ego, has its own perspectives, needs, and agendas, each of our shadow aspects within the shadow also possesses its own distinct perspectives, needs, and agendas. These agendas may align with or oppose those of our conscious personality. When there is a conflict between the agenda of your conscious personality and that of one or more of your shadow aspects, it can lead to significant inner turmoil and a sense of internal struggle. You may become aware of these shadow aspects and their conflicting agendas when you find yourself procrastinating or engaging in self-sabotaging behaviors. These behaviors often hinder your efforts to make positive changes in your life. Recognizing these internal conflicts is a crucial step in understanding and addressing the underlying issues that lead to self-sabotage. Let's explore an example of how shadow-based self-sabotage can manifest and derail someone's plans. Imagine a woman who strongly identifies as a loner. Her goal is to run a successful online business and live in the countryside, minimizing interaction with and dependence on other people. She consciously believes this lifestyle aligns with her true desires. However, despite the feasibility of self-sufficiency, she consistently undermines her progress. For instance, she might be offered a chance to purchase a piece of farmland in a remote area at a very reasonable price, but she declines with a flimsy excuse. Or she might build a substantial following on her lifestyle blog, which has significant earning potential, only to abruptly stop posting without any solid rationale. These actions seem irrational from the perspective of her conscious goals, indicating a deeper, unconscious conflict at play. From the ego's perspective, the way she consciously perceives herself and determines what she wants and needs, her choices seem irrational. After all, she strongly identifies as a lone maverick. She has dreamed for years about being self-sufficient, independent, and far removed from society. Yet as soon as her dreams start to materialize, she sabotages them. She cannot explain why. It feels as though some unseen force is at work, an unwanted guest lurking in the shadows of her soul, operating outside her conscious control. This shadowy figure takes over without warning, undoing the efforts her ego has painstakingly built, and then vanishes without a trace. Just like any logical explanation for her self-sabotage, this mysterious intruder remains elusive. She senses that something is amiss in the darkness, but she can't quite grasp what it is because it lies beyond her conscious awareness. Until she brings light to this hidden area, it will continue to control her actions like a puppeteer from behind the curtain. As Jungian analyst Dr. Murray Stein stated, any autonomous complex not subject to the conscious will exert a possessive effect on consciousness proportional to its strength and limits the latter's freedom. When our shadow aspects take matters into their own hands, destructive consequences may follow. Unexplainable desires and emotions could arise without warning, overriding our authority and diminishing our willpower. These shadow aspects influence and even sabotage our conscious agendas, manipulating us from behind the scenes and leaving us confused about our irrational behavior. Dr. Stein further elaborates on the sabotaging nature of what Jung called complexes. Complexes function to stall the individuation process by bullying a person into emotional dead ends. One can easily fall victim, for instance, to an implacable need for revenge and an unforgiving rage at wounds inflicted in childhood, or slip into the bottomless abyss of nostalgia. The complex has a will of its own that is often stronger than the ego's capacity to resist. These complexes act independently, with their own motives and power, often leading us astray and causing significant inner turmoil. The complex, or mini-personality, lurking in the woman's shadow represents a repressed characteristic, the desire for human connection. Due to past hurts, she has disowned this part of herself. Unbeknownst to her, this unwanted aspect has evolved into a shadow government, undermining the actions of a fearful isolationist who masquerades as a lover of solitude and independence, but who, deep down, craves kinship. This repressed personality plays a paradoxical game from the background of her psyche. On one hand, the shadow aspect yearns to be integrated into her conscious awareness. It wants its motivations acknowledged, its desires felt, and its needs met. To achieve this, it sabotages the rigid individualism of her conscious personality and her efforts towards independence. Consequently, she continues to carpool to work, live with roommates, and do her laundry at a public laundromat where she interacts with many people. While these circumstances may seem inconvenient and undesirable from her conscious perspective, they are precisely what the shadow aspect desires. On the other hand, the shadow aspect fiercely resists illumination. This elusiveness is understandable, as she not only embodies what's unwanted, but also rebels against the person who disowned her. If she were to be fully recognized, she would lose her autonomy. By staying hidden, she retains the power to independently manipulate, sabotage, and disrupt. She remains a separate personality, and above all, she remains safe. However, this safety comes at a cost, a perpetual conflict with her host. As long as she lurks in the shadows, she maintains her control. But this also ensures an ongoing struggle within the individual. There are several reasons why self-sabotage can occur. In the woman's case, her self-sabotage stems from a shadow aspect that responds to an unmet need for connection. From the perspective of this shadow aspect, the conscious personality's goal of extreme independence contradicts this fundamental need. Deep down, this mini-personality knows that if her host becomes financially successful, she will likely buy her own home with no roommates, her own vehicle to avoid carpooling, and her own washer and dryer to eliminate trips to the laundromat where she interacts with others. The shadow aspect understands that increased financial success means more opportunities to neglect and ignore its need for connection and socialization. In a desperate bid to preserve the minimal social interaction it currently gets, this shadow aspect sabotages her financial success. It manipulates her conscious personality into procrastinating and making inexplicably poor business decisions. Additionally, it might create various rationalizations and mental blocks about success. For instance, whenever she plans to work on her blog, she might suddenly feel overwhelmingly tired and decide to take a nap, even if she felt fully energized moments before. This pattern of behavior ensures that the shadow aspect's need for connection, however minimal, is met. The solution to self-sabotage arising from a shadow aspect with an unmet need is quite straightforward. The first step is to recognize the needs and agendas of both your conscious personality and each of your shadow aspects. This requires careful observation and brutal honesty. For the woman in our example, being honest with herself would reveal many clues throughout the day, indicating that she actually values connection and belonging. She must be willing to notice these signs and admit them to herself. Once she becomes aware of this need, her role as the conscious personality is to integrate this shadow aspect's need for connection into her overall agenda for financial success and to make the necessary changes to meet that need. Instead of envisioning total independence when she becomes financially successful, she can reimagine her future. She can see herself having more time and freedom because of her financial success, using that time and freedom to socialize and connect with friends and loved ones. So the solution involves a fundamental shift in perspective. recognizing and honoring the needs of all parts of the self and finding a harmonious way to fulfill them within the broader goals of the conscious personality. By doing so, she can achieve her financial goals without the self-sabotage that arises from neglecting her deeper, unconscious needs. Thank you for watching. If you find this video is useful, please give us a like and a subscription as an encouragement for us to make more useful videos.